Terraria has 4 difficulties: creative mode at home, the one everybody plays, the one nobody plays, and hardcore. It's exactly the same as classic difficulty, except when you die, your character gets deleted straight to the recycle bin. It can be a really fun way to play. It's intense, memorable, and very satisfying when you succeed. But by the end of a normal playthrough, many players will have died hundreds of times. Even experienced gamers might still die a few dozen times. Getting through the game without dying once is incredibly daunting, but it's not as hard as you might think. In fact, I think almost anyone can do it if you have a plan and stick to it. So, let's make a plan. General philosophy first. If you want specific advice, you can check the description for specific parts of the game. Hardcore is high risk. You could lose a character with dozens of hours by making a small mistake. Because of that, you want to play in a way that minimizes that risk. You don't need to be incredible at the game and never get hit, and you don't need to spend dozens of hours maximizing your character's strength to make sure that you're as strong as physically possible before moving on. As long as you know what the most dangerous things to look out for are, you can use the tools available to you to make them not dangerous. The most dangerous things in hardcore are bosses, traps, random enemies that deal like 600 damage in Hardmode, and fall damage. But you know, or will know after this video, that those are dangerous, and you're going to be prepared for them. A lot of this is going to be talking about ways to make the game safe when dealing with those, and that means what's actually dangerous is the moment you stop taking those threats seriously. It's never what you think is dangerous that kills you, it's what you think is safe. As an example, I did a couple streams with some hardcore worlds a while ago showing off a lot of the strategies in this video, and during them, this happened.
The more time that passes, the more time that life fruit will have to... I'm done.
What killed me here? Because it wasn't a tortoise. It was me being overconfident and not following my own advice. Minutes beforehand, I said that you should do the exact opposite of what I did, but I got a bit careless talking to chat, not paying much attention, and thinking I was safe. And that's why it's so important to do what I'm going to tell you. I would think of this stuff like OSHA safety regulations. If everything is going fine, yeah, there's no need to drink a Dangersense potion or have warding reforges. Why would I need to wear a hard hat? Nobody here has had anything fall on their head before. It's uncomfortable and it messes with my hair. Do you want hard hat hair? And yeah, odds are nothing is gonna fall on your head. But if something does, and given enough time, something will. If you didn't follow safety regulations and don't have a hard hat, you're going to be seriously wounded. That's what a lot of this advice is. They're small, easy steps that drastically improve your odds of surviving when something goes wrong. I'm going to assume you're playing on Master Mode and not using save and quits. If you're on a difficulty lower than Master, all of this advice will still work, enemies will just be a bit less dangerous. If you're using save and quits, then you can just escape any dangerous situation at any time by exiting the game. This will despawn bosses, teleport you home, and if you have auto pause on, you don't even need quick reflexes to do it. I think it kind of undermines the challenge to do that though, so I'm not going to mention it again. Also, I know I said that hardcore is the same as classic, but there is one tiny difference. NPCs will drop gravestones when killed. This lets you access the graveyard biome. Everything starts on day 1. This is a very dangerous point in time. You have almost no weapons, defense, or HP. The best thing to do is to find a cave and immediately start looking for life crystals. Do not build houses, do not mine your own cave, and don't try to rush the jungle or evil biomes until you've been mining. You can dance around dangerous biomes with nothing but platforms. I've done it, it's fun. But it's not that consistent, and 1.4.5 also nerfed this due to smart cursor changes. Once you get 2 or 300 HP, your ability to survive skyrockets. Get there as quickly as you can and play it safe until then. Before going down, make sure you cut down some trees, make some torches, and if you find a desert, cactus armor is extremely powerful and you should make it. It takes 75 cactus to craft a full set, and it's only worth making if you can get the full set. It'll automatically damage enemies that hit you. This makes it unlikely for any enemy to hit you multiple times without dying, which means that even if you get caught in a bad spot, like if a bat finds its way on top of you, the cactus armor will often kill the enemy before they kill you. That'll be a recurring theme. You want to try to avoid being put in a bad situation altogether. It's better not to get hit at all, but if it does happen, you did something to make sure you didn't die. The desert is mostly safe. If you see an antlion, make a wall between you and it so that it can't shoot you. If you see a vulture, you have 2 options. They can't fly through platforms, so a small layer above you like this will let you stab them with a copper shortsword. The copper shortsword can also just outright stunlock them by stabbing straight upward. It's fine to explore the surface a bit, just make sure you're underground by nightfall and don't try to go into the jungle, evil biomes or underground desert. You can often find weapons, potions, bombs, and other items to help out in surface chests and pots. Nighttime has no effect when you're underground. It's exactly the same as during the daytime, and since the surface gets a lot more dangerous at night, it's best to spend that time underground. While you're doing all of this, your inventory is going to start filling up. Keep as much as you can on you and go back to build a house once you can't carry anymore. You can make a basic shell of a house to keep you safe if you have to teleport back to spawn, but I wouldn't worry about making a full house yet. You don't have chests, and you won't be able to do that much with NPCs even if they move in on day one. Make sure that you hold on to any herbs, especially blinkroot, shiverthorn, and their seeds, and destroy any chests that you loot so that you can store the items once you make a house. Remember that you can keep duplicate accessories equipped in alternate loadouts to save inventory space. If, for some reason, you can't get to a cave by nightfall, maybe you have the Crimson or Corruption on both sides of spawn, you have a few options. The first is to try to cross the evil biome. This is very dangerous and will likely get you killed unless you're very experienced. The second is to build a bridge over the evil biome using blocks and not platforms. You'll need to cut down a lot of trees or dig a lot of dirt, but it can let you safely get over it and get to a cave. The third is to dig your own cave. This is going to seriously slow down your start of game progression, and I wouldn't do it myself because I am comfortable with the previous two options and you really want to get to high HP as soon as possible. But if you don't have that level of confidence, or don't mind playing it slowly, it is the safest of these three options. Ideally, you should be following a naturally generated cave, and you will usually have one. These will be faster to navigate, have more treasure, and lead you down to the cavern layer. If you can ignore an enemy, ignore them. Don't be afraid to put down blocks to stop enemies from following you. In hardcore, if you survive, you win, and you win every fight that you don't take. There's an item down there. I want to get it, but there are a ton of enemies in the way. How can I do that? Just slowly build a wall that separates you from the enemies. If you do need to fight something, fight them on your terms, not theirs. Make a platform above them. Shoot them through a hole in the wall. A builder potion can be quite incredible because it allows you to trap enemies in boxes due to the extra placement speed and range. Blocking off enemies is something you're going to see me do a lot. It allows you to deal with enemies that are a lot more dangerous than your weapons can handle. Remember, Terraria is a sandbox game. You don't have to kill everything you see. You can block them off, you can tunnel around them, or you can just leave and come back later. Here's an example. This is early on in the jungle. I can't block off a man-eater, and trying to kill one just made it so 2 more of them spawned because it took a long time with the weapon I had. How can I get through this area? Just leave. Go back the way you came, let them despawn, and then go through. If you can avoid a fight, you should avoid a fight. Blocking off enemies can be tricky, especially doing it quickly. Something like this, where a bat flies out of the darkness and a slime is moving into flank, is very dangerous to attempt, and I wouldn't even suggest trying. If you lose control of the situation and you feel that tension like something bad is about to happen because danger is getting close, drink a recall potion instead. The worst thing you can do is accidentally trap an enemy next to you, and that's a very real possibility. That's why you want to use blocks proactively and not reactively. Anytime you're mining a tunnel, you should put several blocks behind you to prevent you from being followed. This is particularly important for vertical tunnels as you have much less time to react before the enemy falls on you. It's best not to leave any gaps because some enemies can travel through smaller holes. Here, I can see that a bat spawned, so I put some blocks behind me so that it will never threaten me. Eventually, it would have made its way to me, but spending 2 seconds and 3 blocks completely nullifies that danger. It's a good habit to always seal yourself off even if nothing is there. Be warned that some enemies behave weirdly around blocks, slimes, especially mother slimes and pinkies, antlion larvae when their nests are broken, and spiders, especially at the edges of background walls, can behave inconsistently. If you're in a more open area and you have space between you and the enemy, the key things to remember are that you need to put blocks where the enemy is going to be, not where they are now, and that fighter enemies will try to jump. Making a big wall works pretty well, and if you dig a hole in front of it, fighter enemies will get trapped there. Oftentimes, it's easier to block yourself off than it is to specifically wall off the enemy because of how they'll jump around. This is especially true for bats. They're very difficult to pin down without a builder potion. Your highest priority should be getting life crystals, and the moment you get one, use it. Don't wait to get to 200 HP to avoid a goblin invasion, and definitely don't stay at low HP to avoid a blood moon. The single most dangerous thing in the game is being at low HP. You want to get away from low HP as quickly as possible. Large, open areas are more likely to contain life crystals. Mushroom biomes are fantastic places to look and will often have several. They also won't spawn traps in normal seeds, and you can dig quickly through the mud if enemies are spawned in and you can't deal with them. If the music changes to the mushroom theme, go find where it is. It's pretty much always worth it. Be careful of black and mother slimes. The dim lighting of the mushroom biome can make them difficult to spot. So that's the general strategy. Explore what you can on the surface, try to get cactus armor, get underground before nightfall, and seek out life crystals ASAP. When it comes to equipment, I would at least try to make a wooden bow with flaming arrows. You can shoot these ahead of you to see what's going on in caves. Unfortunately, enemies are the least of your problems in Prehardmode. The biggest killers in hardcore are traps. On master mode, even a dart trap will kill you at 100 HP, let alone boulder and explosive traps. Those could potentially kill you from 400 HP. You have to always be aware that anytime you're underground, traps could kill you. But that doesn't mean you have to live in constant paranoia and scan every block carefully before you move. There are 4 good ways to avoid them. The first is to be extremely cautious until discovering your first trap. Walk slowly and look carefully for pressure plates. Don't ever go into an area that hasn't been clearly illuminated. Once you find your first trap, it shouldn't take that long, destroy the pressure plate or trap itself and keep it in your hotbar. When you're holding it, wiring will be highlighted, letting you scan for traps by swapping to it. This will only highlight wires that are in lit areas, so you do need to make sure you're throwing glow sticks or placing torches. You can buy glow sticks from the merchant at night if you need some, and holding down shift will pull out a light source to make it easy to throw them. Whenever you're going somewhere new, briefly hold it out to check for traps. This is very effective, particularly for dart traps and boulder traps, and it doesn't take that much effort. It's not the best solution long term though, and you might miss an explosive trap if you aren't looking carefully because those wires go straight into the ground. It also doesn't highlight cacti in the underground desert, but you shouldn't be there early game anyways. The second is to use Dangersense potions. These last for 10 minutes and only require shiverthorn and cobwebs. It's a very easy recipe, and you'll often find them as loot in chests or pots. Any traps will glow red, and it should be quite easy to disarm and avoid them. Because they require shiverthorn and cobwebs, which come from the snow biome and underground, it's not the easiest to get them on day 1. If your snow biome is accessible, great, you can get shiverthorn, bring some bottles, and craft these as soon as you get cobwebs underground. But if it isn't easily accessible, get life crystals first and rely on holding traps out to see wires for the time being. Keep in mind that if the pressure plate itself is obscured, it may not be easy to spot a trap. This can happen in waterfalls, lava falls, or in glowing moss biomes. If you ever have a waterfall that's blocking the ground like this, you should assume there's a pressure plate there until you can go put a block down to get rid of it, which will let you see the ground clearly. The third is just to use your eyes. Use tools that provide a lot of light, like glow sticks, night owl potions, or shine potions, and keep the area in front of you clearly illuminated at all times. Pressure plates stand out a bit and can be identified pretty easily once you know what to look for. They're flat, raised pieces of furniture. It's a skill you build over time, and I wouldn't rely on this if you're not comfortable doing it, but once you get the hang of it, it's quite consistent. You'll also have to get good at this if you're on For the Worthy or Get Fixed Boy, since wiring is hidden until after Skeletron in those seeds. When you're walking into a new area, get in the habit of looking at the ground first. When I'm playing hardcore, I barely ever look at my character itself. I'm always searching the ground and scanning around me for movement. Movement means there's danger, and I have to react to danger. And the last option only appears post-Skeletron, but if you buy the mechanical lens from the mechanic, all wiring in the world gets highlighted even in dark areas. You can just see traps permanently. If you upgrade it to a grand design, you can disarm them from a distance, too. Again, this won't work for cacti in the desert, you'll need Dangersense for that, but once you've killed Skeletron, you should never die to any traps that rely on wiring, because you should always be able to see them. Make sure you buy a mechanical lens. Traps are the most likely thing that will kill you at the start of the game, and they still remain pretty deadly later on. If you're not comfortable spotting them, get used to holding out a pressure plate, or prioritize going to the snow biome to get shiverthorn and set up a farm very early. If you have a corruption between the snow biome and your spawn, you can build over it with blocks just to get shiverthorn. Once you have seeds, all you have to do is make a safe spot under your base and plant shiverthorn seeds on snow or ice blocks or in clay pots. If you're planting outside of pots, I suggest doing it at a pylon away from spawn or just a bit of a distance away because your first goblin invasion will likely cause any herbs you've planted to get destroyed due to chaos balls. After Skeletron, seriously, do yourself a favor and just make a grand design. If you can't afford it, money's super tight, it only costs 1 gold to just buy the mechanical lens. You don't even need to equip it, it can just stay in your inventory. Please get one, I can promise you, you will not regret it. Everyone who has played hardcore has a story about how they got complacent and died to an explosive trap or a boulder trap late in the game. Even if it's somewhere you've been before, you might have missed a trap nearby. You'll feel silly grabbing a Dangersense potion for a 2-minute trip underground, and gradually you'll start to think that it's not really that important because you've been safe so far. That is a great way to lose a character 20 hours into a playthrough. Never underestimate traps, and be careful of boulders. They will be activated if you hit them or break the blocks underneath them, which can happen if you get careless when mining. You should drink most of the potions you come across in chests or pots to help you get those life crystals more effectively. Really, it's all about life crystals early game. Mining, Spelunker, Night Owl, Shine, and Dangersense are particularly useful. Keep any gravitation potions for finding sky islands once you go back home, and hold on to any recall potions. These are your ticket out of danger, and you always want to have a stockpile of them. If you get any food buffs from hitting trees, those will also improve your mining speed, so eat those as well. Use any metals you find in chests to upgrade your pickaxe. 10 bars is all you need. You can also make a better bow or broadsword for self-defense, particularly if you did not get cactus armor. Broadswords are for bats and flying enemies, bows are for everything else. If you can shoot it from a distance, shoot it from a distance. You can make frostburn arrows with ice torches, which provide a lot of extra light when caving. You generally don't want to fight enemies, but you won't always have the choice, so having something to defend yourself with is a good idea. While the high tier armor sets can provide a lot of defense, it's much more important to improve your max HP first, and you're gonna lose time on those potion buffs if you sit around mining. The ores aren't gonna go anywhere. You can scope out the caves, use whatever potion buffs you have to get those life crystals and chests, and then come back for the ores once they wear off. If you make your way down to the lava layer, craft a bucket and pick up some lava. It'll come in handy later. Eventually, you're gonna run out of inventory space. Ideally, this will happen on the second day after 20 to 30 minutes. You'll recall home, make a house or finish the house that you started, and use all of the chests that you got to store the items. If you teleport back and it's still nighttime and you don't have a base, immediately either dig a hole in the ground or build a makeshift shelter. It's a good habit to cut down the trees directly at spawn at the start of the game, so you can do that freely. You only have a few seconds before the enemies will start spawning, so you need to do that quickly. Walls first, build them higher than you can jump, and then the roof. The house you build can easily be the difference between life and death. You want to build something that will keep you safe during blood moons and invasions, and for the most part, that means keeping the doors in a spot that enemies can't open and NPCs can't open. Again, ideally, you never have to stay in your house to stay safe, but if something happens and you need to defend your base, you should be sure that enemies cannot get inside. The safest design is either a floating house or a moat. Enemies can't get in, and you can use a double jump, grappling hook, or rope to get inside. You can use that lava you collected earlier to kill the enemies. This is a particularly good strategy for dealing with a goblin invasion early on. You can stay in your house and kill any casters that show up while letting the rest of the goblins walk into your lava trench. The invasion is almost completely harmless like this, and it takes 2 minutes to set up. The Goblin Tinkerer is a huge power spike, so getting goblins done quickly with a simple setup like this is quite the advantage. If you build a floating house, make sure to also make a bed so that you spawn inside of it, and make a quick exit in case you need to escape. Anytime you're building a base, imagine that there's an invasion going on and you're teleporting back to spawn. Are you safe? Can enemies get in? Do you have a way to leave quickly in case of an emergency? Don't rely on pylons because your NPCs might die. If you have the nurse NPC, putting her near your spawn point can let you teleport home and quickly heal in a dangerous situation, which can save your life. It's a good idea to have a second spawn point underground that you can use if you're doing something that makes the surface dangerous, the moons, post-Plantera eclipses, or similar events. Those events don't affect underground, so you can lay low there if you need to. So, as a recap, you want to explore the surface for wood, surface chests, and look for shiverthorn in the snow biome and cactus from the desert. But immediately turn around if you find the corruption or jungle. You can build a small shell around your spawn point, or clear the trees near spawn so you can build one quickly if you need to. Make sure you get underground by nightfall and use flaming arrows to light up the caves in front of you. Explore slowly at first until you can get a pressure plate, and then hold it out to see traps to keep you safe. Using the pressure plate and flaming arrows to scout ahead of you, get as many life crystals as you can. If an enemy shows up, only fight them when you have the advantage. If you don't have control of the situation, use blocks to separate you from them, or just recall if you think you might be in danger. Drink most of the buff potions you find immediately, it's not that hard to craft them later, and make sure you keep any recalls on your hotbar to teleport home in case of danger. Speaking of teleporting home, you might find a magic mirror. A lot of players think that the magic mirror is just an unlimited use recall potion and that there's no reason to keep recall potions around once you find one. That is not true. In fact, the opposite is. You almost never want to use a magic mirror if you have recall potions. The magic mirror is drastically slower than potions, and when you're in a dangerous situation, that extra half second or so that it takes to use the mirror means you're going to get hit in extra time. Iframes only last 2/3 of a second, and that very well could kill you, especially in hard mode. You should always keep recall potions on you, on your hotbar, and be ready to teleport away from any dangerous situation. It's okay to use the magic mirror when you're safe, but do not make the mistake of thinking that recall potions are useless just because you have a mirror. Many players like to use a special keybind that selects the recall potion to use it easily. You might consider binding it to an easy-to-reach button for emergencies. Mouse buttons, Q, E, whatever's comfortable. You panic, you press it, you hit use item, and you're back to being safe. Personally, I just use the scroll wheel, but I have a lot of practice with it. It can be a little difficult to tell when you're in a dangerous situation, though. Oftentimes, a hardcore playthrough will end because you didn't realize you should have teleported home until it's too late. As a rule of thumb, if you're in a boss fight and you fall below half HP with your potion on cooldown, you should leave. That means you've been hit multiple times in quick succession, you've burned through your safety net, which is your healing potion, and a few more hits will kill you. You could fight back and win, but there's a serious risk of dying now, and you need to avoid risks like that. You always want to leave when you're 2 or 3 hits away from dying, not when you're 1 hit from dying. You might mess up and be a bit slow, and you'd be dead if you started to recall too late in that case. Fishron can also curse you and make it impossible to leave, or confuse you and make dodging attacks much harder. The Brain of Cthulhu can as well. That's why making a line in the sand can help. There's no decision making involved. If you drop below half HP, you leave. You don't sit there and think about whether it'll kill you. You don't make a snap decision because you've already decided. You just have to stick to it. It sucks bailing on a fight, especially a boss that's a little annoying to summon, but it's never that difficult to summon them again, and it's never worth dying over. You should also fight bosses away from your spawn point so that you can leave if you need to. You can put a bed at a different pylon if you want to fight near your world spawn. Keep in mind that the Wall of Flesh will instantly kill you if you try to teleport away, and Queen Bee, the Destroyer, and the Moon Lord will follow you across the world. You can't escape them, although you can buy time against the first two. Those boss fights are a lot more serious because of that. Having a nurse near your spawn to use in dangerous situations can save your life against the Moon Lord, and having one of the conches can buy you a lot of time if you would otherwise die against Queen Bee and the Destroyer. Nothing will save your life against the Wall of Flesh, so you need to be ready before you spawn it. Unless you save and quit, but that's kinda cheesy. If you're not in a boss fight, it's not as easy to know what's dangerous. You need to have a good game sense and tell when there's something that could kill you nearby. This is where Hunter and Dangersense potions are invaluable, because there's a big glowing red sign that says, hey, this will hurt you. Obviously, you want to go home if your HP is low, but sometimes it's not even HP based. Several enemies can outright insta-kill you from full HP on Master Mode. We saw that earlier. I would use these guidelines. In Prehardmode, if you fall below half HP with your potion on cooldown and are not in a safe area, you should leave. A safe area is somewhere where enemies cannot hit you. You could wall yourself off, be standing above fighter enemies, or otherwise be unable to take damage. Not you won't take damage if you dodge a projectile or if nothing spawns. Safe means low risk. If you can get to a safe area, you can just do that. Put down a campfire, wait until you heal up and your potion is usable, and then keep going. If you're still at low max HP, you can treat getting hit twice or even once the same way. The most dangerous pre-hard mode enemy is the cursed skull in the dungeon. Getting cursed can make it impossible to fight back, escape, or even dodge effectively. Never let a cursed skull hit you, and if you think one might, you should leave. Don't even risk it. Weapons that can attack through blocks, like whips, spears, the Vile Thorn, or the Star Fury, are great at dealing with them. It's a good idea to have a minion summoned in the dungeon in case one does hit you. They can still attack and kill the skull even if you're cursed. Thorns potions can be great for the same reasons. You should also leave if a voodoo demon spawns and you think it might die above a pool of lava. This can often happen due to minions attacking them. Because of that, you might find you want to unsummon your minions in the underworld. So minions in the dungeon, good. Minions in the underworld, potentially bad if they can kill a voodoo demon. Spiked ice slimes and ice bats are also very dangerous because they can freeze you. This can leave you defenseless for several seconds and easily lead to death. It's even possible for the debuff to get chained several times back to back. Be cautious around them, and try to use ranged weapons instead of close range options. Never try to fight a spiked slime at close range. Jungle ones too. They inflict poison for almost a minute, and they can put you in situations where you will die to a debuff unless you aggressively seek honey or heart drops from pots. That's a situation where having a nurse at spawn can save your life, by the way. In Hardmode, on Master Mode, I think the half HP no potion rule still holds, but you should be extremely careful even at full HP around the following enemies. Biomimics, anything cursed, giant tortoises, red devils, rune wizards, medusas, and skeleton snipers. These enemies can either instantly kill you, nearly instantly kill you, or put you in a situation where you will die unless you escape immediately and might stop you from being able to escape. I consider rune wizards to be recall on sight if one shows up on the lifeform analyzer. They're a teleporting enemy that deals 600 contact damage. They might seem manageable until one of them randomly teleports in front of you and insta-kills you. If you see a wizard, leave a wizard. Red devils, giant tortoises, and skeleton snipers are enemies that you should treat with a lot of respect. Avoid them if possible, and if you can't, be ready for them. Red devils look harmless, they fire these slow-moving, weak-looking projectiles, and guess what? They do almost 500 damage! Similarly, tortoises deal ridiculous damage when spinning, and skeleton snipers have a 600 damage fast-moving projectile that can come from off-screen. The Hardmode jungle, underworld after a mech boss, and especially dungeon are areas you need to be careful in. Minimize or avoid going to them unless you have to, and get out immediately if one of these enemies puts you in a spot where they could attack you. You never fight them unless you have the upper hand. You attack through blocks or around corners. Don't give them the opportunity to attack you even if you're confident you can avoid it, because one slip up means dying. Life Force and Endurance potions can help to avoid one-shots, as does the Worm Scarf. I strongly suggest using them when you're in these areas. You don't need to drink a Life Force potion constantly in hardcore, that's incredibly unreasonable, but having some when you're going to the biomes where these hyper-lethal enemies are is a good idea. If you're trying to open a biome chest, dig to it from outside the dungeon, don't walk through the main entrance. Build an artificial dungeon instead of trying to farm in the real one if you need dungeon drops. Remember that skeleton snipers can spawn in front of any background wall, rarely. You're not safe just because you're outside of their territory. They get 1 day of paid vacation a year and they're gonna use it to kill you. Don't go away from your NPCs in the jungle before killing all of the mechs, and always use hunter potions when you're there. If you can see the tortoise coming, they're not nearly as dangerous. Medusas and cursed enemies are dangerous because they can incapacitate you for a while. Medusas also re-enable fall damage even if you're wearing wings, and multiply it. So don't fly in the air around Medusas, just go away from them. One single marble block is enough to allow marble enemies to spawn. They don't need to spawn on it either. One block anywhere nearby means they can show up. If you get trapped in an enclosed area with no way to attack a cursed enemy, like this, recall instead of waiting for it to hit you. You might not get another chance. Giant cursed skulls are similar, except they can also shoot a projectile that curses you, and it goes through blocks. They add to the hyper-lethality of the dungeon. If you cannot immediately kill it the moment it spawns, leave. Even if you can kill it, honestly, still consider leaving. Getting cursed once isn't the end of the world, but remember, the enemy can hit you again and apply it again. The debuff lasts like 10 seconds. Biomimics are terrifying if they get activated when you aren't expecting them. This can often happen if you have minions summoned, so you should unsummon them if you spot them on the lifeform analyzer. Honestly, I almost never have minions summoned in hardcore because they kinda make it more dangerous. Mimics won't one-shot you, but they have so much HP that you can't out-DPS them, and they can't be stun-locked. You should get out as soon as possible if one gets aggroed to you in a cave, and if you're trying to fight one, be ready to leave if it hits you once. It's best to just get souls, make keys to spawn them, and fight them somewhere that you can run in a straight line. The Lifeform Analyzer is very good at letting you know when you need to be careful. They will detect biomimics, rune wizards, and medusas, all of which are serious threats. Keep an eye out for one whenever a traveling merchant spawns. Anytime you're in doubt, recall. Err on the side of caution. It won't take that long to get back to where you were, and it's a lot better than dying. Hardmode enemies can kill you extremely quickly on Master Mode. In Hardcore, your goal is not to kill enemies. It's not to kill bosses, it's not to be efficient or play quickly. Your only goal is to not die. That objective is always above everything else. Recall potions are the most effective tool in the game at avoiding death. You almost always have the option to just leave. A couple bats are flying towards you, leave. You see a wizard, leave. An unexpected enemy jumps on you from above, just leave. Get out. The biggest thing that will kill you is always overconfidence and complacency. You start to get comfortable, you stop scanning for traps as carefully, you loosen up around enemies and take on bigger risks. You've done this a dozen times, and it's worked every time so far. You don't build a great arena, you stay in a dangerous situation instead of recalling, or think you can still win a fight even though you've lost a lot of health. And it might work. 50% of the time, 75% of the time, maybe even 95% of the time, but do it enough and one of those days your luck will run out. You need to consciously fight those urges. Remember your OSHA regulations. Get a guardrail for that balcony. Put batteries in your smoke detectors. Have a spotter when you're lifting weights. Beating Hardcore isn't about being careful, it's about not making stupid mistakes. At this point, you should have several hundred HP, and you have a lot of flexibility with what you can do. The world is significantly less dangerous. Ultimately, your goals should be getting to max HP, getting the Goblin Tinkerer, and getting weapons, armor, and accessories to fight bosses. I forgot to mention this earlier, but explosive traps are currently bugged to scale their damage with difficulty, so they are guaranteed one-shots even in endgame. But as long as you keep using Dangersense potions underground and go home whenever you fall below half HP, you should be perfectly fine. Barring, of course, fall damage. Particularly when you're new to the game, it is such an easy way to die. Even I still die to it sometimes. Because of that, I would loot floating islands using gravitation potions from chests underground. Getting a horseshoe and fall damage immunity is incredible. Just drink one and start flying up and down in big diagonal lines. Remember that these potions don't cancel fall damage, so be careful not to hit the ground or anything that isn't a cloud. Flipping gravity like this will reset your fall timer, so that's a safe way to land. I'd also stop searching for islands when your buff goes down to about 20 seconds. You don't want to be caught in midair and plummet to death. Recall potions can be used to cancel fall damage if you do ever get stuck in a situation like that. When you're scanning the sky, keep a recall potion in hand. That'll also let you escape harpies if you ever get caught in a tough spot. Every world will always generate with at least one lucky horseshoe, so you will find one if you search all of the islands. The same thing is true for Star Fury and a balloon. You can also look for puddles of water like this and rope upwards. They usually indicate a floating island spawned because they are extra bits of water that were cut off during World Gen. The moment you get a horseshoe, equip it and never take it off. Do not swap to alternate loadouts for fishing and mining unless those also have fall damage immunity. Don't take it off quickly for a mobility accessory during a boss fight or to test something out. You put it on and it never comes off until you get wings, and then those never come off. Before getting a horseshoe, just be very careful around ledges. If you're making an arena, set them up so that the platforms are in tiers, like a pyramid. That way, if you fall off the edge of the top, you just hit the one underneath instead of falling all the way down. Don't use your grappling hook at the tops of caves, because if you miss, you might fall and take serious damage. Featherfall potions will cancel fall damage and allow you to float, but those can be uncomfortable for inexperienced players to use. Use ropes or platforms to go down long pits instead of relying on a grappling hook, shoe spikes, double jumps, or rocket boots to cancel fall damage. You should also try not to use all of your rocket boot boost. A quick tap will let you cancel fall damage. Don't jump into holes that you can't see the bottom of. The bunny mount from the angler will cancel fall damage, and it's guaranteed on your 5th quest. If you have one, you can press the quick mount button to quickly cancel fall damage, and you can rebind that to something more comfortable for panic situations. You mostly just need to not put yourself in situations where you could fall long distances. Don't stand near edges, don't grapple the ceilings of caves, don't build platforms at a lethal height. If you want to be absolutely safe, you could mine for a platinum or gold armor set, get the Goblin Tinkerer, reforge all of your accessories to warding, and do a ton of preparation before your first boss. I'll be real, that's mostly a waste of time. Yes, if you have 40 or 50 defense, the Eye of Cthulhu effectively can't kill you, but he's really not difficult enough to warrant that. If you have boots, a double jump, and max HP, you will be fine against the Eye of Cthulhu, even with 0 defense. Roller skates and chill it are also fine. Of course, there's no need to do it with 0 defense. Getting a silver, tungsten, gold, or platinum armor set can help nullify the damage you take, as will an iron skin potion. 20 to 30 defense is a good amount for the Eye of Cthulhu that'll roughly halve how much damage he deals. You'll want to make several layers of platforms like this as an arena, close enough that you can double jump between them and run back and forth, either falling or jumping to a new layer once you get to the edge. The longer it is, the safer you'll be. Be extra careful when he gets low on HP, he can hit you multiple times in quick succession. A Thorns potion can help make sure that he dies before you do here. The only thing you need to remember, and this will be true of almost every boss fight, is to not be afraid to bail on the fight if you get to low health. It's not difficult to summon him again. Weapon-wise, this is going to be the case for basically every fight, but you want a weapon that can attack from a distance. That means ranged weapons and sometimes magic weapons are the best weapons to use. Even if you're dealing a little less damage, you will always be harder to hit if you're far away from a boss. A gold, platinum, demon, or tendon bow are all good. Mini Shark is great, musket and undertaker are great, poison throwing knives, bone javelins, thunder zapper, gem staffs are supposed to be getting a rework soon. I imagine they'll be quite good once they do. There's no shortage of good options. Just pick something that lets you stay away from the boss. If you're not ready to fight the Eye of Cthulhu, you can avoid a random spawn by staying below 10 defense at 7:30 p.m. Make a watch and just unequip some stuff before nightfall. If you do get a spawn message, you can avoid the spawn by spending the entire night underground until 4:30 a.m., or you can despawn it by going far away from your home, having it spawn there, and then teleporting back home. Make sure it comes on screen before you teleport, otherwise it might follow you back. Bosses take longer to despawn if they haven't come on screen. Unfortunately, the Eye of Cthulhu doesn't really unlock much. You do get the Shield of Cthulhu, if that's your cup of tea, and you've even got a dodge keybind for it now. A big influx of evil ore can let you craft a Magiluminescence and evil bow, and the ability to buy planter boxes for herb farming. Potions are incredibly powerful, and planter boxes allow you to easily farm endless supplies of them. You should buy a lot of planter boxes and just put all of the herb seeds you find out in the world in them. In particular, Regeneration, Iron Skin, Hunter, and Dangersense potions will significantly impact your survival, the first 2 for boss fights and the second 2 for outside of boss fights. Mining, Spelunker, and Battle potions can save you a ton of time, and there are also a lot of more niche potions that can be nice in specific situations, but these 7 are your bread and butter that you are always going to want. You need Daybloom, Blinkroot, Shiverthorn, Moonglow, and Deathweed to craft all of them. Put your seeds in planter boxes and just harvest them whenever they're ready. You don't even need to remember recipes now that you can craft from nearby chests, just don't throw away the herbs. Besides the herbs, most of these potions are quite easy to craft. Mining potions require antlion mandibles, so you'll need to spend some time killing enemies in the underground desert, and hunter potions require shark fins. Because of that, you should always be looking for a shark statue when you're underground. A single shark statue lets you get unlimited shark fins quickly and easily. It's the difference between knowing where every enemy is all the time and getting jump scared by them in dark areas. Once you get to Hardmode and those dark corners of the jungle could be holding tortoises that do 432 base damage, you'll appreciate having hunter potions. Honestly, I think it's worth spending 20 minutes farming sharks in the ocean in Prehardmode if you didn't find a statue. If you have any, chum buckets from Blood Moons will buff shark spawn rates now. Even just 10 hunter potions will cover most of the time you're mining underground or in dangerous biomes in Hardmode, if you have some mining buffs. Regeneration potions, along with heart lanterns and campfires, are most of your HP recovery during a fight. By the way, always put down heart lanterns and campfires. It's 1.5 HP per second with no downside. Without these, it's almost completely limited to your potion. You have 60 seconds of healing almost nothing. As long as you have good HP recovery, you don't need to not get hit when playing hardcore. Getting hit is fine. You just have to make sure that getting hit isn't going to kill you. Defense is also very good for that, and that's why I'm going to suggest in Hardmode that you use melee armor sets with non-melee weapons and use warding reforges. In Prehardmode, there's very little difference in defense between the armor sets, so just use whichever one suits your weapon. If you run out of mushrooms for regeneration potions, buy purification powder and throw it at corrupted mushrooms to turn them into regular ones. Dangersense is very useful early in the game before you can see wiring, while hunter potions are most important in hard mode, where the enemies will kill you much faster and move much faster. Potions are one of those things that you can ignore on low difficulties, but not using them on high difficulties will cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. They're not difficult to make. Basically, all you have to do is not throw away herbs and some random ingredients when you find them in the world. These aren't the only good potions, but I think these are the fundamental ones that are simple to craft and always effective. So, the Eye of Cthulhu is dead. You got a bucket of lava and you can use that to kill goblins. Maybe they've already invaded, maybe they will soon. You're at full HP, or nearly full HP, and you have some basic accessories, a double jump and boots primarily. You've got an herb farm set up. What should you do next? Bosses, obviously, but aside from them, there are a few things that you should always do, no matter the world. You always set up pylons and always reforge your accessories to warding. These are both money intensive, but are well worth it. Pylons make the world safer by lowering spawn rates due to having nearby NPCs, let you teleport around to save time and avoid crossing dangerous areas, and keep NPCs happy to lower prices. In 1.4.5 now, you can even use them during invasions and boss fights. If you're about to get a random boss spawn, you can just teleport to the other side of the world to get rid of it. I always make pylons above the underworld and at spawn, and then in other biomes when it's convenient. Warding, especially in Prehardmode, is just the best modifier for accessories. I have a whole hour-long video talking about why. You don't have to get warding specifically. Armored or guarding are fine, but getting defense from accessories is very impactful. You get more defense from reforges than your armor in Prehardmode. Even if you're playing as a summoner, get warding. Even if you want to use emblems in hard mode, reforge them to warding. You can go watch this video if you want to understand why this is true. It mostly comes down to defense getting stronger the more of it you stack, and defense having very strong effects on incoming projectile damage, especially from bosses. Next are things you should do, but don't have to do. This is mostly stuff that will help you out if you decide to do it in pre-hard mode. The underground desert has some incredible loot. The magic conch, in particular, lets you bounce between oceans on a whim. Not only does this let you explore them easily, it gives you the option to leave spawn if spawn is dangerous, and lets you stall for time against the destroyer and queen bee. I mentioned that those two will chase you. What you can do is teleport to the ocean, wait there and heal up, then teleport back to your arena to continue the fight. It lets you take a break mid-fight. It can also get you away from invasions or really any dangerous situation at spawn. Pylons might get disabled if NPCs die, but the conch won't. Also, if you have a pylon at the ocean, then the invasion will continue happening there, but if you don't, then you can conch there and be completely safe. It's very comfortable to have one for emergencies for hardcore playthroughs. The desert also has got a lot of buffs to mining speed, which effectively makes mining safer because the faster you mine, the less time there is for enemies to spawn and build up to threaten you. The main reason you'd want to do it now is that it becomes very dangerous in hard mode and is a biome that generally you avoid at all costs in hardcore after the Wall of Flesh. Do not set foot in there after hard mode, especially if it's corrupted. To navigate it safely, you should bring a Dangersense potion and something that can attack through blocks. A whip or Star Fury are excellent. These will let you see and activate rolling cacti through walls, which negates their danger. You should not come to this biome until you have at least 300 max HP. That takes you out of the one-shot range of cacti on Master Mode. They can bounce and launch spikes, so make sure you're nowhere nearby when you hit one. On top of that, it's a biome that is not easy to find chests in. You should only come here if you have something that can help you find chests. Spelunker potions, a Star Fury, or even a metal detector can suffice. If you're stumbling around with nothing, you're just gonna waste your time. The enemies themselves can, for the most part, be blocked off. Make sure you seal tunnels, especially when digging down. Worms are the only enemies that can go through blocks, but as long as you have some kind of piercing weapon and high HP, you should be okay. Whips are very good at dealing with them, but be careful not to activate cacti when dealing with normal enemies. Remember that you can always just go home if you feel like you're in danger. Aim to get a magic conch, ancient chisel, antlion mandibles, and perhaps enough amber for an amber hook if you don't have a good hook yet. The Bast statue is also quite good. Dig Toys is very skippable. In general, I'm not a huge fan of elevators in hardcore. I would recommend making a pylon instead. I still have trauma from 1.3 Medusas. The underground jungle has the Staff of Regrowth, which used to be great. It's still good, but you can no longer harvest herbs out of bloom to get seeds. It's still nice to have, but it's not a disaster if you don't have one. It'll just make herb farming a little bit slower. On the matter of herbs, don't be afraid to harvest herbs out of bloom out in the world. Let's say you drank a spelunker potion and you see a blinkroot underground that isn't blooming. Go get it. Honestly, prioritize it if you don't have a good herb farm. Each blinkroot is a spelunker potion. If you get 2 from each potion you drink, you're growing your supply even without farming herbs. And you can get a lot more than 2 off of one spelunker potion. In a way, spelunker potions let you farm herbs by just finding them out in the world. If you can pick up 5 shiverthorn, even out of bloom, that's nearly an hour of Dangersense. Even if you're farming herbs yourself, if you have plenty of herbs growing or just need a potion right now, you don't have to wait for it to bloom. I'm a big fan of the blizzard in a bottle, and by extension, the balloon upgrade. I would suggest getting it and upgrading it with the horseshoe. Balloons give ascension speed bonuses to wings, much like the frog leg, and the blizzard is a very good double jump that gives you a lot of control over your movement in the air. Once I get it, I usually keep it on for almost the entire game. If you get a decent fishing setup and spend like 20 minutes in an oasis, you'll fish up a ton of lobster and flounder, which you can use for medium food buffs. It's the easiest way to get medium food buffs now that pumpkin pies were nerfed. Building a Plantera arena in Prehardmode is not a bad idea. Buy dynamite, throw a bunch of it, and slap down some NPCs with a pylon. If you don't build it in Prehardmode, you can lower spawn rates and do it fairly safely in Hardmode, but it is safer to do it now before tortoises exist. You can also make a life fruit farm near here. If you cover it with background walls, it'll be completely safe. If you keep it small enough to stay on screen, or put doors every screen width, it should also be safe. Just avoid making long, narrow hallways that a moss hornet could snipe you down. Now that jungle juice exists and life fruit have a long-term purpose, I think it's a pretty good idea to make a farm for them. You can quarantine your world evils. I would just throw dynamite at their edges. You don't need to do anything more complex than this. I don't suggest doing anything extremely time-consuming, like getting a cell phone or Terra Spark boots. The problem is, those items aren't really going to affect your survival much, and it's gonna feel a lot more soul-crushing if you spent 7 hours grinding a cell phone and then you die. Only put the time in for things that are actually going to help you. And one thing that does take time, but does actually help, is fishing. Fishing can buff your max HP by 20%, give 10% damage reduction, let you skip blood moons and solar eclipses, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I would try to get a decent fishing setup, maybe a fiberglass pole or mechanics rod with a mid-tier bait like journeymans or enchanted nightcrawlers, so that you can fish up prismite for life force potions and an enchanted sundial in Hardmode comfortably and stock up on armored cave fish from the caverns. Those are used for endurance potions. Those 2 potions and the sundial are the main appeal of fishing in hardcore. If you don't mind spending the time, you can fish up obsidifish for potions of return as well. These can be quite helpful in Hardmode, especially during the pillars. The obsidian swordfish is also a really good weapon in early Hardmode now, but lava fishing is really slow, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that one. You could also farm the Old One's army for metal so that you can buy armors or sentries from the Tavern Keep without doing the higher tiers. The problem is that with tier 1 you only get 5 medals per army, and it takes a little while to farm enough. You need 15 per armor piece and sentry for tier 2, and 50 and 60 respectively for tier 3. I think getting 15 for 1 armor piece in tier 2 can be very helpful if you're concerned about the mechanical bosses or Plantera, and if you're concerned about late game, getting 50 for 1 Valhalla Knight breastplate is perfectly reasonable. I don't think this one is that necessary because there are other good options for armor. I wouldn't usually do it, but it can boost your survival chances in those situations quite significantly. And if you find that you struggle with some mechanical bosses, the Squire chest gives a huge amount of defense for 15 medals. This can be really impactful for the mechanical bosses specifically because they mostly do damage through projectile lasers, which get reduced significantly with defense. Of course, you'll need to kill the pre-Hardmode bosses too, but honestly, as long as you have Spectre Boots, a white horseshoe balloon, keep one finger on your recall potion, and use buff potions and warding reforges, you should be perfectly fine. Build multi-tiered arenas, use heart lanterns, campfires, and a bass statue if you have one, and give yourself plenty of space. Make sure you're using weapons that let you attack from far away. As a couple of small tips, you can fight the Brand of Cthulhu on the surface if you're scared of him. Minions, the Flinks in particular, are very good for a second phase. The Panic Necklace from Crimson Hearts is a good option for this fight because it effectively prevents you from getting slowed if you get hit. It's also good for Skeletron for the same reason. If you're fighting the Eater, the Sand Gun with Ebon Sand annihilates him. Spiky Balls from the Goblin also destroy him. They're great for the brain too. You'll want to pre-trap your arena, just build a bunch of platforms and chuck a bunch of spiky balls down before you summon him. Against Queen Bee, make sure you have high defense, and if you don't, make sure you're building a bigger arena to give you more space. If you set your spawn to the jungle, you can conch to the ocean if you get to low HP, then teleport back to spawn to continue without needing to deal with her enraged form. Don't try to flee with Queen Bee still at a significant amount of HP back to somewhere that isn't the jungle, because her enraged form gets pretty terrifying and she will not stop until one of you is dead. For Skeletron, don't be afraid to get Hellstone gear first, but remember and be very careful that as of 1.4.5, touching the bottom of the world will instantly kill you regardless of what seed you're on. Don't make the mistake of drinking an obsidian skin potion, jumping into a pool of lava, and floating down to the bottom of the world, because you will die. I also wouldn't recommend using the Shield of Cthulhu. I've seen many players try to dash out of his spinning skull and just worsen their stun lock because they bounce off of him and then go right back into him. Stay at a medium distance, not a long distance, go in circles with fall damage immunity, and remember that moving very quickly will cause him to move very quickly to catch up to you. Always keep a watch when you're fighting Skeletron. If it ever gets near 4:30 AM, just teleport home. After killing him, I would strongly suggest getting an alchemy table to improve your potion crafting yields and a cobalt shield. Knockback immunity is fantastic at keeping you alive, especially against the wall. It makes it significantly less likely to get hit multiple times in succession and stops you from getting interrupted while dodging. Always use warding reforges and get a magiluminescence for the wall of flesh. And do not use a melee weapon on the wall of flesh. In general, do not ever use a low-range weapon on an enemy that deals a lot of contact damage, or just period, don't use a low-range weapon. The best hardcore strategy is to just never get close to enemies. Use ranged weapons, or magic if you want to be less predictable. It is true that the Night's Edge and Dark Lance can be really effective on the wall. It's also true that the most dangerous place to be is directly in front of the wall of flesh. The further you are, the safer you are, and that's true of almost every enemy in the game. The Skeletrons are like the one exception. You almost always just want to keep your distance and shoot in the boss's general direction. The worlds I played on stream, I died using the Night's Edge on the wall of flesh, and I could have avoided it. It was because I thought it would deal higher DPS, but because I used planter boxes, the eyes were separated, and I had to switch to Star Fury because I couldn't take the lasers point blank for long enough, and I ran out of space in my arena. Avoidable stuff, but that never would have happened with a ranged weapon. The Phoenix Blaster, you just sit with him at the edge of your screen and shoot. I almost never get hit, and when I do, I barely take any damage. You could throw bean aids and just hold down the D key. You don't even need the wall of flesh on screen for that. You can use Aqua Scepter, Demon Scythe, tell Vampire Frogs to attack his top eye and switch to a different weapon. Just don't use anything that puts you close to the wall of flesh. You could over-engineer a funnel arena to really maximize the Night's Edge's DPS and set it up so that the wall can't really attack you, but you could also just shoot it with a gun. Make sure that you're using Meteor Shot if you're using a gun. If you're concerned about accidentally summoning the wall of flesh, kill the guide before going to the underworld and make it so that there are no empty houses for him to move into. Without the guide, you can't summon the wall, so even if you kill a voodoo demon above lava, nothing will happen. You should drink a builder potion to make the arena faster, and if you're using bean aids, make sure to use solid blocks with holes to drain lava from lava slimes. By the end of Prehardmode, you want to have a good herb farm, ideally with a shark statue for hunter potions. If you didn't get one, spend some time in the ocean so you at least have a few. You want to have a good mining setup to mine quickly in Hardmode, you want your accessories to be reforged to warding, and you want to have a pylon network set up. It's a good idea to have a fishing setup ready so you can get life force and endurance potions, and probably the single best thing you can do when going into Hardmode is to bring a Phoenix Blaster. It is by far the most consistent weapon to use in early Hardmode. The instant you get into Hardmode, craft exploding bullets by purchasing explosive powder from the Demolitionist and empty bullets from the Arms Dealer. The Phoenix Blaster attacks quickly but has low knockback. When combined with exploding bullets, they deal very strong knockback, enough to stun lock anything if it can take knockback. They have incredible crowd control capabilities. You can stun every enemy you come across, deal with large groups of them, and prevent any enemy from ever getting close to you. That is the name of the game. You do not let anything get near you. You run away, keep your distance, and keep them stunned. You don't have to kill everything. In fact, you usually shouldn't. Keep them distant, and if anything gets through your defenses, recall. come back later. You should have the mechanical lens or Dangersense potions, so traps should not kill you. Ideally, you have hunter potions too. Keep the same general idea from Prehardmode. Be very quick to recall and stay the hell away from the jungle and underground desert. There are a lot of enemies that can go through blocks now, so something that can attack them is very nice, like a whip or spear. Exploding bullets can hit enemies near a wall, but their main weakness is that there's not much they can do against enemies deep inside of a wall until they get close. The best tactic is to smash a bunch of altars, then go mining for a tier 3 armor set. If you have good mining speed from Prehardmode, you can do this in like 10 or 15 minutes. With a worse mining setup, maybe 30 or 40. A handful of hunter, spelunker, and mining potions are really all you need. Stay away from the underground hollow and corruption when mining. The enemies there are more dangerous and the blocks take twice as long to break. Smashing altars does allow random mech spawns and pirate invasions. To prevent a random mech spawn, you need to be underground at exactly 8:51 p.m. If you got a spawning message to show up, the game checks if you're on the surface at exactly 8:51. If you're not, the boss spawn is skipped and you can just go back to the surface. This is mostly a concern with the destroyer, that's the vibrations or rumbling spawning message. With the other two, you can just pylon away once they show up to despawn them. Pirates can be terrifying, but only if you fight them on their terms. But you never want to do that. If you take control of the invasion, they cannot threaten you. If you set up your base so that they can't get inside of it, you're completely safe in there. They do deal ridiculous projectile damage. The captain can even deal 600 with his cannonball attack. So, don't let them shoot you. If you sit on the other side of a wall, the pirates cannot hurt you. There is only one enemy that can go through blocks during this invasion, and that's the ghost that spawns from pirate captains. As long as you don't kill captains, the invasion is completely safe. The safest thing is to make a box to trap the captain. Only one can be spawned in at a time, so if he's in jail, you can be confident that you'll never spawn a ghost by killing the other pirates. Goblins do get their new mini-boss enemy in Hardmode. She's not dangerous if you have a setup for her, but you know what you could do if a goblin invasion happens and a warlock shows up and you don't think you can handle her? Conch to the ocean, then come back. It'll despawn, you can kill the regular goblins, and then you can do it again if another one spawns. I would not suggest that you avoid smashing altars because of pirate invasions. They really are very easy to work around. Just acknowledge that they can happen and spend 3 minutes preparing at the start of Hardmode. You might not have great mining speed. Some players do like to fish to avoid smashing altars. I really don't suggest doing that, but if you have your heart set on it, make sure you're fishing in the hollow because you can get life force potions at the same time and because divine crates have higher Hardmode ore drop rates. It's not that fishing is a bad idea. Getting prismite for life force potions and an enchanted sundial to skip blood moons and eclipses can really help you survive. But fishing for metals is just a waste of time. What I'd suggest instead is that you either settle for a lower tier armor set or make a mixed set. As a summoner, for instance, I think getting a tier 3 melee helmet and using the spider chest and legs is a very comfortable setup for the mechanical bosses. You can then upgrade to the tier 2 squire breastplate after killing one of the mechs. I would suggest using the melee heads regardless of what class you are. You do lose some damage, but usually the most dangerous part of the mechanical bosses are the lasers, and defense is incredible at reducing how dangerous the lasers are. In general, I wouldn't think about playing a class in hardcore. Your class is using the armor that gives you the best chances of staying alive and the weapons that let you deal the best damage while staying far away from enemies. If you want damage, you can use emblems or potions for some damage boosts. Limiting your weapon options or significantly lowering your defense will not make you less likely to die. And honestly, most of Terraria's weapons are strong enough that you don't need a bunch of gear buffing them. When it comes to wings, if it's raining, you can probably get an ice feather from ice golems. Be careful about getting frozen if they shoot you. They follow fighter AI, so you can trap them pretty easily. Make a wall, dig a hole, and shoot their legs. If it's not raining, or if you're not quite comfortable fighting ice golems, you can very easily get fairy wings. Just build up into the sky and make a pearlstone bridge off screen. Use a water candle, battle potion, and just shoot the pixies. This is best done during the daytime, and after a few minutes, you'll have all the dust you need. Then, of course, you need to kill wyverns. And you know what does that really well? The Phoenix Blaster with exploding bullets. Go to the sky, if harpies can spawn, so can wyverns, and just jump down and shoot as you fall. Wyverns can't make sharp turns, so as long as you go perpendicular to their movement, they can't hit you. Running towards them can help out with that, or double jumping or dashing. This is a very consistent and very safe early hard mode strategy. By the end of it, you'll have wings, good defense, and you can pick up whatever weapon you want to use on the mechs. If it does good damage and keeps you away from bosses, it'll be fine. Even just a high tier repeater will be okay. This strategy is also pretty fast, which means there's less time for biome spread and fewer chances for invasions. There's not much danger that you're introducing yourself to, and as long as you remember to be quick to recall if an enemy gets near you and you can't deal with it, you should be fine. You'll likely need to get souls to summon the mech bosses. The safest way to do that is to go to where the Hardmode V touches the underworld and kill enemies down there for souls. These are generally going to just be the pre-Hardmode underworld enemies, which aren't very dangerous. Be careful about voodoo demons above lava. You can use platforms to catch their drops. Remember that after killing a mech boss, red devils begin spawning, so you don't want to come to the underworld after killing a mech boss. Get your souls before killing any of them, and if you need more after you've killed one, go to the actual underground evil biomes. Do not go back to the underworld. The cross necklace accessory can also be obtained now, which is quite fantastic for keeping you alive. It roughly doubles your iframes, which can really help if you get trapped and start getting hit multiple times quickly. Those panicky emergency situations are where the cross necklace shines, especially when you aren't the best at identifying danger. With the mechs themselves, again, as long as you're ready to escape if you fall below half HP, you'll be okay. Remember to set your spawn point away from the mechs, that way you can escape if you end up needing to. Don't forget that you can use endurance and life force potions here. Knockback immunity is extremely helpful, and I'd always suggest killing spasmatism first for the twins. If you stay far away from Retinazer's phase 1, about this distance, he won't shoot you, so you can more or less ignore his lasers if you keep your distance. For Skeletron Prime, the safest strategy is to play very passively, keep your distance, and kill the laser hand first, then go ahead and start attacking the skull. If you killed the twins first, the Rainbow Rod is great at this. If you killed the Destroyer first, the Mega Shark is pretty good at this. The laser hand is on the left, so if you're on his right, you'll have more time to react and dodge the lasers. Now, the Destroyer does have an attack that can deal 420 base damage. That is his bite. The good news is that attack is very easy to dodge. The bad news is that if it hits you, you're probably dead. With life force, endurance, and good defense, you can be confident that you'll survive if you were at max HP, but you will be critically wounded and need to leave immediately. I usually use the map to keep track of the Destroyer's location and to make sure he doesn't get the chance to bite me. Staying high in an arena helps because he'll always be coming from below if you're staying up high, but he might come from any direction if you're low. If you do ever get to low HP, conch to the ocean, heal up, and then teleport back to your arena to keep fighting. You might be tempted to kill Golem-fishron pre-mech, especially if you're more experienced at Terraria. This is a mistake from the perspective of minimizing risk. It is something that, if you practice, you can pull off fairly consistently. But when you're deciding what boss to fight next, you should ask yourself, what boss poses the least danger to me and gives me a meaningful benefit? Duke does give a very strong bonus, but he is not the least dangerous. It will always be safer to kill the mechs first. Even if you want to do Duke earlier than Golem or Plantera, get hollowed armor, better weapons, and better wings first. Going for him pre-mech is just an unnecessary level of risk. Queen Slime, I just think is more dangerous than the mechs and doesn't provide that much bonus. If you want to fight her, get a lava shark and fight her in the ocean. It'll nullify her spawns and slow her projectiles. She's much less dangerous there. If you're concerned about the mechs, but you managed to kill one of them, you can farm life fruit in the jungle to get to 500 HP and get an Aegis fruit. That's where that life fruit farm can come in handy. As long as you set it up safely with the background walls or doors, you don't have to worry about jungle enemies. You can sleep in a bed to fast forward time and watch the map to see when they grow. It's not the most exciting, but it is very effective. You could also kill that one mech a couple times until you get hollowed armor, then use that for the other two. Be careful if you're doing the tier 2 Old One's army because the damage values on some of those attacks are pretty high. Farming life fruit is also a very safe way to get to 500 HP after all of the mechs as well. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You can make jungle juice, a slightly better greater healing potion, with your leftover life fruit. Mining through the jungle is safe as long as you stay inside of walls and have hunter potions to detect enemies, but you might mess up, like I did. To avoid this happening to you, you should make sure to stay inside of walls and out of open areas. Keep your actual armor on. Don't swap to mining armor and use life fruit whenever you get one. Don't wait to collect a bunch of them and use them all at the end. Had I done any one of those things, I would have survived here. Once you get to 500 HP and get geared for Plantera, you can fight her in that arena near the temple. If you didn't build one in Prehardmode, that's okay. As long as you make a town nearby, the spawn rates will be drastically lowered and it should be fairly safe to build. It isn't completely safe and you should be ready to defend yourself, but there will be very few enemy spawns. During Plantera, there are two things to be careful of. random enemy spawns, and accidental enraging. Plantera is a lot easier with a lot of space, so having a big arena is helpful, but if it's too big, the center will no longer count as the jungle, and enraged Plantera is terrifying. So, if you built a big arena, check the center of it to see if the background changes to the regular cavern background. If it does, place 140 jungle blocks nearby and actuate them. Putting down some hive blocks is the easiest way to do that. Regular enemies won't spawn during the fight itself, but they can spawn slightly before and after. You can get jumped by tortoises and hornets just after killing Plantera. Peace candles and calming potions can help out a lot there. You can also use lava on the floor and not have platforms in your arena to prevent enemies from being able to spawn entirely. Make sure you have water walking or obsidian skin potions if you want to do this. It's best to summon Plantera at the arena, but you can find a nearby bulb, break it, and then lead her back to the arena without much danger. Again, just make sure you have hunter potions to see other enemies when mining back, and that you're ready to leave if things go south. Golem, if you pull him out of the temple, is pretty safe, and you can fight him with the stuff you fought Plantera with, or get some upgrades first, it's up to you. There are a lot of post-Plantera and post-Golem options, and I'll be honest, most of them are very dangerous and you should just avoid them. You don't need to finish every single piece of content in the game. You should identify whatever optional post-Plantera boss or event you feel the most confident at and do one or two, but no others. Duke-Fishron, the Empress, the Dungeon, Pumpkin and Frost Moon, Martians, Solar Eclipses, these can all be extremely dangerous, especially the events. If you want to do one of the events, have your spawn point set deep underground and be ready to just leave. You can die so quickly. Morning Woods hit almost as hard as Red Devils, and they spam their projectiles everywhere. There is a lot of good loot from solar eclipses and the moons, but they're very dangerous, and I strongly recommend just skipping them and going for a safer option. The dungeon is similarly dangerous, but you can make an artificial dungeon, which reduces most of the danger. And I hope it goes without saying, but you never fight the daytime Empress of Light in hardcore. It's doable, consistent if you've practiced, but it will only ever make a run more dangerous, and there is absolutely no reason to engage with an optional boss very capable of insta-killing you when you're likely 10 or 20 hours into a playthrough. What I would personally do is skip all of those and do Duke-Fishron for a strong weapon, and then the Empress of Light for a soaring insignia. I like to kill Golem, get Beetle shell armor, buy steampunk wings from the steampunker, kill Duke-Fishron, kill the Empress of Light, and then go on to the Moonlord and Cultist. Each one of those steps is important. Killing Golem gets you the steampunk wings, which gives you the mobility to dodge Duke-Fishron very consistently and easily when combined with a white balloon. It also gets you the Beetle shell armor. This armor is terrible offensively. Pre-Hardmode armor sets give better damage. In fact, it has such bad offensive stats that it's basically classless. You can use whatever weapon you want, and you should use something that attacks from a distance. What Beetle Shell does do is offer unparalleled survivability when combined with effective dodging. It gives a 45% damage reduction buff, which decreases whenever you get hit. That means that as long as you're only getting hit once every few seconds, you have 45% damage reduction on top of very high defense. You can shrug off attacks that would be crippling to anyone else. It's the ultimate demonstration of what I mentioned before. You stack the deck so that things are in your favor and unlikely to go wrong. If something does go wrong, you've prepared for it so that it doesn't affect you that much. Beetle armor is the premier hardcore armor set. You do need turtle shells, but they are well worth it, and you can farm them in your Plantera arena. Stay in a safe box, be careful of spiders clipping inside of it, and shoot them until they die. There is a strong alternative option, and that is the Valhalla Knight Breastplate. You don't get a strong damage reduction buff, but you do get a ridiculous 4 HP per second regeneration bonus. It's better for builds that are maximizing defense, but I'm not as fond of it for hardcore. It shrugs off chip damage very well and is able to sustain a lot of constant hits, while Beetle Shell can tank massive attacks and gets hurt a lot more by chip damage. If you find that you can't dodge the small attacks well, then Beetle Endurance is going to get eaten up and you'd be better off with the Valhalla Knight set. But I don't find that's the case for me, so I usually use Beetle. You could get both and just use them whenever it's useful. Valhalla Knight is better for something like the Empress, where you have a lot of lower damage attacks and might get hit several times in quick succession, while Fishron has high damage attacks that don't usually combo you. If you do want Valhalla Knight, I would suggest grinding the Tier 2 Old One's Army with post-Plantera weapons a couple times instead of doing the Tier 3 one. Beetle armor lets you fight Duke-Fishron and be very confident in your safety, but getting hit multiple times quickly can get very dangerous because you'll lose your Beetle Endurance buff, so be ready to recall if that happens. You get a good weapon from him, like the tsunami, you use that good weapon to kill the Empress, and now you have infinite flight with a very good pair of wings to dodge the Moonlord with. You have to kill the cultist first, but he's not that dangerous, aside from his purple Ancient Doom attack in his second phase. But Beetle Shell can shrug that off. Take the fight slowly, and pay attention to his summoning locations. He'll always pick the spot furthest away from you, and will never choose the bottom left. If you mess up, and he summons a dragon, teleport home, sleep in a bed for 4 minutes, and come back the next morning when the cultists have respawned. The pillars are dangerous, probably the single most dangerous part of the entire game. The key to dealing with them safely is edging. You need to be a master of edging. What that means is sitting on the edge of where the pillar border is. You walk in, take 1 or 2 enemies at a time, then walk out of the pillar area so that nothing else can spawn. You take them slowly, 1 at a time. You don't get overwhelmed, and you stay in control. If you feel like you're getting overwhelmed and too many spawned at once, or if you got hit once or twice, get out. Pillar enemies are overtuned as hell and will easily be dealing triple-digit damage through max Beetle endurance. You can't wait until you get to half HP because they just deal too much damage. They'll be dealing half of your HP in 1 attack. You shouldn't give them the opportunity to hit you at all, and the Beetle armor is there so that you don't get destroyed if they do hit you. You can use hollowed armor to accomplish something similar if you didn't get Beetle armor, but you really need to get out of there immediately if you burn through that dodge. You can farm Stardust cells and Alien Queens quite safely outside of the pillar range. Make sure to teleport away to despawn the cells afterwards because it's hard to wipe them all out. Once the shields are down, you can open the map and shoot them from a distance. Bullets will fly straight, so you can just open your map, click on the pillar, and shoot for like 30 seconds. As long as there are no floating islands nearby, you can stay above the pillar, still inside of its range, and shoot downward. All enemies except wyverns and harpies need blocks to spawn on, so if the sky above the pillar has no blocks and you're within the pillar's range, nothing can spawn. I recommend Stardust or Vortex first, and using the pillars from them to deal with the other two. The Phantasm with Chlorophyte arrows is very good at the pillars, and a Stardust Dragon is great to have too. I'm quite fond of using the Phantasm with Ichor arrows for the Moonlord himself. It'll be a slow fight, but as long as you're staying at a stable amount of HP, you will win. You can afford to get hit sometimes, just make sure you've got the defenses and HP regeneration to back that up. With infinite flight, you can stay airborne and bounce between his sides in phase 1 to dodge the death ray, then kite him around the world in phase 2. You can keep your nurse at spawn in case of emergencies, and be sure to pull out all of the stops. Get every potion buff you can. In fact, use those potion buffs during the pillars as well. They're arguably more dangerous than the Moonlord. And with that, you will have beaten Terraria without dying a single time. The general strategy that I laid out here gives you the best chances of winning in hardcore, and as long as you avoid making any silly mistakes, I think most players could do this. Bosses might be tough if you're inexperienced. If you're struggling with one, bail on the fight, get better items, or look up a guide online for that boss, and then come back later. And if you're still struggling after that, do it again. You can keep trying as many times as you want as long as you leave before you die. You always want to be stacking everything in your favor to make it unlikely for you to make a mistake, and so that when that mistake inevitably happens, it doesn't kill you. You leave any situation where things might get out of control, and you use potions to stay aware of dangerous traps and enemies. You might die a few times. That's okay. It happens. It can be disheartening, especially if it was a longer playthrough. You might want to take a break between runs, and I suggest not playing for more than a few hours at a time, because you're naturally going to get tired and more likely to mess up if you've been playing for 5 or 6 hours straight. A lot of what I laid out in this video pushes you to play efficiently, and that's not because you have to play quickly. It's because playing quickly lets you get back to where you were after you lost progress, and makes it hurt less when you die. Why not build a bunch of houses and slowly mine down from spawn on day 1? Well, because you're extending your period of time at low HP, which makes it more likely for you to die, and you're gonna feel very crushed with all that time you wasted. Why not fish for Hardmode ores or try to get every single possible upgrade? Because they're not gonna meaningfully reduce risk, and it's just dragging out your playtime. The longer you're playing for, the more likely it is that something will go wrong. And even if you do die late in the game, that's nothing to be ashamed of. If you could make it through 90% of the game and you die on the Nebula Pillar, that's incredible. You've almost beaten the entire game without dying. It's not easy to do that. To close things out, I'll give you a list of a bunch of things that you might not realize can be deadly that I haven't mentioned yet in this video. Jellyfish deal a lot of damage if attacked with melee weapons or whips while they're electrocuting. Spiders can squeeze through 1-block gaps. Ghosts can spawn underground at any time during Halloween. If a slime rain happens while you're farming blue slimes from a statue underground, those will count towards the slimes required to spawn king slime, which can make him show up when you're AFK farming slimes. Black recluses have a spit attack that immobilizes you and stops you from using items. Always attack them from behind cover. Summoned minions can activate biomimics and even accidentally hit the wrong cultist during his clone attack. Generally, I don't like having minions summoned in hardcore because of how they can mess with what I expect to have happen. I don't really recommend using them outside of bosses, and I think you'll ultimately be more consistent without them. Plantera shoots spores which linger after she dies. You can be killed by them if you sit still and just take a breather after she dies. Chattering teeth bombs can explode and damage you from the other side of a thin wall. Deadly spheres and stardust cells will lose collision and travel through blocks if they're far away from you. Sharks can clip through one-block walls if spawned outside of water, and they take heavy knockback, like when you're AFK farming with minions. So just make sure to double up on wall thickness. Fishing during blood moons can spawn enemies. They drop great stuff, but will absolutely destroy you if you get trapped inside of them and weren't expecting them. 1.4.5 added a ton of boulders. They do a bunch of random BS stuff, like go through blocks unless you look at them or leave webs on the ground. Just boulders are very dangerous.
Oh yeah, also during 1.4.5, Relogic decided to add lightning. It sucks. If there's a lightning storm going outside, just don't go outside. Sit underground or sit in a bed until the lightning stops. If it happens during a boss fight, leave the boss fight immediately. Do not continue trying to fight a boss when there's lightning. It just sucks in every way.
That's by no means an exhaustive list, but it does cover a lot of the most common random things that might kill you. You can go watch the hardcore streams I did a while ago to get more detailed advice and demonstrations of what I'm talking about. They were in 1.4.4, but most of it will still hold. If you decide to give hardcore a shot, keep everything I said in this video in mind. Even if some items get rebalanced in the future or new strong items get added, the fundamentals of everything I said here will remain true. It's not about being careful or being extremely skilled, it's about avoiding the stupid mistakes that you make when you get complacent. Always remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.